you know when your sourdough has finished proofing? Now that's a very good question and a very difficult one to answer, if I'm completely honest, because what's going on inside we can't see. So the one thing I would recommend if you're new to sourdough is use a tool. And I ask people that all the time. They come to me with lots of questions, and one of my first questions that I go back with is, what tool are you using to know that your bulk fermentation is complete? And if you're not using a tool, you're going to have to go and find one. Take a look at the different tools. I'm going to show you a dough that I made and is now ready for shaping up and putting in the fridge for the cold proofing. So remember that the bulk fermentation and the cold proofing are two different things. So I've got my 10 stages. You can watch the video on that, download it as a PDF, or it does come in our journal as well. But basically what we want to know is that the gluten has developed inside the dough. And how do we know that? So there are a number of different ways to do it. The easiest way, and what I find to be the most scientific way, is the dough temperature test. And what we use is one of these probe thermometers, and we do sell them in our shop. And what we do is we take the temperature of the dough. Now, again, a big question I get is what temperature should the dough be? It's not about what temperature it should be, it's about what temperature it is. So a hot dough will take less time, and a cold dough will take a lot longer. So I am creating my own chart at the moment. It's been, I've been working on it for a while. I want to make sure it's right before I release it, because it is based on my 65% hydration recipe. There is another creator called the Sourdough Journey, and they also have a chart, but that's based, I think, on a 75% hydration. So it is slightly different. So it's not 100%, but it's a fantastic guide. So depending on what the temperature is of your dough, you then go and look at the chart and it tells you how long to leave it for. How amazing is that, and how easy is that? So take the temperature and then take the guesswork away. There are some other ones that you can do. The Alacoy test is very good. You get a little pot, you put some in, you wait for it to double in size. The only thing I find with that, maybe it's because of the recipe that I use, it does tend to overproof a lot for me. Now, the other one that you can do is a poke test, where basically you get your finger and either wet it or put some flour on it and you poke it. And depending on how the dough behaves when you poke it, whether it's springy, bouncy, leaves a great big dent in it, that's quite an advanced way of actually doing the test to see whether or not the dough is ready, because you don't actually know what you're looking for. If you don't know what proofed dough looks like, or overproofed dough, you don't know what you're looking at. You've got nothing to compare it to. Another way to do it is actually just reading the dough, looking at how jiggly it is. Has it got bubbles on the top? What does it look like? How's it behaving? Another one is about how well it pulls away from the side. Again, that is based on the actual recipe that you've used, how much hydration is in there as well. So again, that can be not a true indication as well. What else is there? There's a few others as well. There's the window pane test, which is where you can pull the dough, and if you can pull it and create a window in the dough and it doesn't tear, then that means that it's ready. Because of course, if you can't create a window, it's not flexible enough and it stays really solid, you can't see through it. And if it keeps tearing, it means that the gluten has broken down and it's overproofed. There are a few other ways as well, but personally, from a beginner's perspective, if you're new at sourdough, go and check out the dough temperature test, and it takes the guesswork away, and it stops you being stressed about it, because of course an underproof loaf can be a bit gummy and just not particularly brilliant and not very fluffy, and an overproof dough is incredibly flat and can be quite dense. So you're looking for that happy medium. So I always ask that question when people say to me, how do I know that my dough is ready, or my loaf is coming out too flat? I'll always say, what tool are you using to know that your bulk fermentation is complete? Because it's not about guessing what goes on in here. This is genuinely about understanding when the gluten has been developed. And that's why there's a number of different tools, because it depends on which one makes most sense to you, which one works best with your recipe, and which one is giving you the best results. So I'm going to shake this lovely load of dough up here and get them into the fridge so that I can then bake them Saturday morning, nice and fresh for the weekend.